Kata pakalima. Mano kara fukulungu. Police station mandi kasate o sate ndem boyta abere. Hani station ke mawi. That is deliberate. Abele no moy.
Ya, assalamu alaikum badimono namo be kontan wato nal kontan wala e anal badem mala Suleiman Cham na konkujan UDP political bureau YouTube channel momo be follow kan sen like ya subscribe ya share bi alhamdulillah na min shata wala mon na right party leader right honorable Usainu Dabo na party leader United Democratic Party ala kuma kendo to ana ya maroto bankoe anen party en selame Usainu Dabo na.
At the weekend, Saturday to be precise, I had a long conversation with the leader of the United Democratic Party, Alhaji Usainu Dabo, at his home. And this is the first of 3 installments we have divided the conversation up into. So part 1 of my conversation with Alhaji Usainu Dabo. Alhaji Usainu, thank you very much for welcoming us to your home for this conversation. You have just returned from a tour of the country. Tell us about your experience first.
Well, thank you, Mr. Gomez, for hosting me again to Coffee Time. As you said, we just returned from a tour on Thursday. It was the most exciting tour. In fact, we have named it the Defection Tour.
The defection tour?
The defection tour.
Okay. I'll ask about that later on. Just continue about the experience.
And it was purposely to really go back to our people, touch base with them, see how effective our structures are working. Of course, in the run-up to the 2026 presidential elections, you have to be quite prepared on the ground. So we just went out to see how far or how much we are prepared, and where there are lapses, what to do to remedy them in such situations. And of course, to again remind the government people that the position we had adopted or we believed in since 1996, they are still relevant, and that we must do better this time so that we can rescue the Gambia, we can redeem the Gambia, put the Gambia on the right path.
So how prepared did you find, some of the structures were, and where did you find lapses, if any?
Well, certainly there were lapses, particularly in URR, and that is because their moral was dampened. Not that they had lost faith in their party, but then their moral had been dampened, and that their activities were not as frequent as you have in other parts of the country, in NBR, in LRR, and in parts of CRR South, and also in part of CRR North, because CRR South, district like the Nyaminas, and in CRR North, district like the Salums and Nyanija, the activities of UDP's activities were not very frequent as we expected it to be. So we realized that, and I think the tour has energized those people, boost up their morals, and in fact they are also working hard. And in fact, CRR North, in areas of CRR North, there are a lot of defections, even in the salons.
And that's why you're calling it a
defection tour.
Defection tour. And in URR in particular, where we know the president is from, and probably because of that, the NPP and its coalition partners are very strong. Is that what has weakened? Is it a question of, the ruling parties weakening the UDP in those areas? Well,
it is because the ruling party really weakening people in the area. I mean, there has been this idea of we have come from the same region. so support the president. President Jammeh came from West Coast region, and the people of West Coast region supported him 100%. Why shouldn't you support Adama Barrow, who comes from the Wapa River region? So those sentiments, which I really do not think should be considerations, And of course, also there was this issue of we have built the roads, we have built the bridges, we have built bridges for you. Now, the roads in the CRR, in URR North, I think those were projects, because even since at that time, you used to hear Lamekoto to Pasamas. Mm-hmm. These were, projects that were conceived well before we went into politics. And their actualization really started in Jammeh's time. This is the truth. And this is what people must be told. But then President Barrow takes it as his own, pretends as they conceptualized it, conceived it, and then executed it. I don't think there is anything wrong for President Barrow to say, look, these roads were conceived, yes, maybe funds were provided, but I pushed it, to finish. I could take credit for part of it, but you cannot take credit for all of it. And on the bridges and the roads, on the Basse-Fototo road, also played on the minds of the people. And I have, I tried as much as possible to be modest. I don't want to blow my own trumpet. I don't want to praise myself. But this time, I did tell the people of URR that, look, true, I had the opportunity of traveling to China at the invitation of my colleague, Foreign Minister Wang Yi. He invited me to China, which I'm very grateful to him. And indeed, on my visit, I went with a shopping list. And indeed told President Barrow that this is the shopping list that I'm going with, to ask the Chinese authorities to help us. Maybe the Chinese authorities can even take Gambia as a model for their developmental ideas. How much they have fought poverty, how they have converted small fishing villages to now in huge industrial commercial sites. How that will maybe can benefit from that. And road was one of the items on my shopping list. And I did mention to specific areas of the country, Kiang, that was virtually inaccessible because there were no roads. And I felt also sorry for Nyanija, because I discovered that during the campaign period that I went into the area with my friend Ahmad Ba, I discovered that Nyanija, you could only have access into the hinterland of Nyanija on Wednesdays. That is the Lumo days. So if you are lucky, on a Wednesday, you have a vehicle that can take you into Nyanija unless you own your own vehicle. Otherwise, it is every Wednesday that you go in and every Wednesday that you come out. And I was particularly struck by that. How can people in the Gambia live in such situation? I'm specifically mentioned those two places. And of course, we are, with God's blessing and the magnanimity of the Chinese authorities, actually to give us this project. And it was taken to URR. Fine. It's for Gambia. And in fact, the Chinese authorities say specifically that it has to be in this region or that region. And it was for the choice of the Gambian government. And I did tell people that, look, really, President Barrow is just claiming that, but I worked it out. I brought it in. And
but Chinese investment was only in the infrastructure in Basse, not necessarily in Kiang.
Not necessarily in Kiang. So I said, look, and I asked them, since I left, which minister has gone to bring such a project that is to the Gambian people? So these were the things that were weighed on the minds of the on the minds of the people of URR. Yes, we have this road, we have these bridges, especially for Woolly, you can come at 5 a.m. Woolly and Sand, you can come at 5 a.m. and cross. In those days, if the ferry closes, it's bad. In fact, in those days, when we go for campaigns, they would feign, a breakdown in the ferry services so that we cannot cross with our vehicles. But now that doesn't happen, So, that weighed on them, and they really gave their support to President Barrow. But what is now unacceptable to them is what? A bridge that has been given to the Gambian people gratis. Why should we pay for it? Why should we pay toll? Why should there be toll charges on it? If it was a loan, you want to recover, of course, the loan, then you can ask, you can put toll charges on them. And this is really worrying the people of URR and the people who use the bridge, and they tell you, look, why are they not paying for Denton Bridge? Why are people not paying for Kalaji?
Those are valid questions.
Yes.
But again, the point, could be made that we need to maintain the bridge.
Absolutely.
And we can't always go to donors to say, give us money because the bridge is too old.
Absolutely. We need to maintain the bridge. We need to maintain the bridges. There has to be funds for the maintenance of the bridge. Because the licenses that you pay for, the road tax and all those things,
so the cost of maintenance should come from the money that we give to GRA.
That's right. Should they really not be banked, to take care of the maintenance cost that may arise if you have to do one. Yeah.
So if you say, because Yahya Jammeh came from Kanilai, the West Coast region voted for Yahya Jammeh, Barrow is now from Basse, and the URR is voting Barrow. Is it fair to assume that coming from the LRR, that the LRR is predominantly also Dabo and the UDP?
No, I don't come from LRR.
You come from?
I come from CRR.
Of course, from CRR.
Banza is in CRR. And of course, I'm not dominant. I do not have dominance in CRR. Yeah. And
so what do you think about this politics of regionalism, if you like?
It is bad.
Just because Peter Gomez comes from Banjul, he says, well, everybody in Banjul should vote for Peter Gomez.
It is not right. It is not right. You have to...
How do we overcome it? Because it seems to be etched deep into our politics.
Well, we overcome it by the political actors, the politicians, not carrying that type of message to the electorates. Then ask people to vote for you because you come from the same region. Honestly, you see, in 2018, our first visit to the United Nations, at our Friday prayers in one of the mosques at the end, I was shocked.
By what?
Well, a statement by a friend, a colleague, a brother, when he told the congregation, and this was a congregation made of Sarahulis, and when told him that we should support, he is one of us. I was shocked by that. I don't think you should support anyone because he's one of you. I have had my own close relatives who have been supporting Jammeh, and I do not hold it against them because I believe that is, they believe in Jammeh's policies. I do not believe in my policies. And it didn't in any way interfere in our personal relationships, in our family relationships. It never caused any fractures in our family relationships. And I think it should be that way. People should be, people's decisions should be determined and controlled by the genuine, not false, by the genuine programs that the politicians bring to you, not sentimental things. Yeah? Of course, people will have personal liking for you. Of course, when anybody has any personal liking for Barrow, why should anybody have anything against him for that? you know. Admire him for this or admire him for that. I think that is okay. But it should not. That should not be the matters that should really lead to really the election or selection of a government.
Of course, Barrow started life in the UDP as a member of the party, and very often you hear that this tribalist tendency in our politics was actually started and driven by the UDP, and there's a phrase that they throw up all the time, Badia Fasa. I mean, how do you explain this allegation against the UDP?
Well, see, this started in Jammeh's time. And that is, they do not have anything to say or contradict our UDP's programs. So, this very, detestable campaign, that's what they embarked on. And indeed, even Jammeh started it before the APRC was formed. It was during the transition period. And banging on tribalism in this country. And that means no tribalism in this country. No tribalism. I do not know, I'm not aware of any agenda that is driven by Jawara, that is driven by tribal considerations. Jawara was in fact the biggest unifier in West Africa. And UDP, we was formed with all tribes in it. Wolofs, Ibumane, Ahmad Tal, Ajiam Sak, and all those people. Tairu John, Okuta Thomas, Christian Davis, all those people. But then, because they saw, how much UDP was going with this accelerated political ascendancy, they said, look, poison people's mind and say, look, this is a tribalistic party. I am Mandinka. And all other political parties in this country are led by people who belong to other ethnic groups. But why do they want to describe us as Mandinka? Remember, NCP was also tagged as a tribal party. So this calculated propaganda which have absolutely no validity. I asked them, tell me the tribal agenda that UDP is driving. Tell me. We say this should stop. And we would say it should stop if a Mandinka was president.
So Badia Fasa is not a UDP
utterance? It's not a UDP utterance. It's their own utterance. On the contrary, if anything, what we have seen very glaring, people trying to thrive on tribalism, we've seen it more pronounced in Barrow's time. President Jammeh never called tribes. They would call communities, CRR. The Fulas, the Mwalofs, the Sarahule, all they will come. But he never singled out any single tribe.
What about the famous statement read on television targeting Mandinkas?
Of course. Again, that for me, it had two intentions. There are two intentions. One is to spur the Mandinka ethnic groups into violence. Two was really to make other tribes treat the Mandinkas with contempt and believe that Mandinkas are bad people. And then, of course, doing that, if you achieve that, you're really making the country disunited, polarized. I know that Jammeh did that, and we condemned it. In fact, I think all political parties in the country condemned it. And I know that there are political party leaders then, who stood there and said, UDP is not a tribal party. UDP does not believe in tribalism. The personal life of Mr. Dabo shows that he does not believe in tribalism. He has children whose uncles are Woloffs. He has children whose uncles are Jolas. So he cannot really say that he's tribalistic. Well, maybe some of those political leaders have now turned in this time to really try to put a tribal tag on us, but they will fail. And I think people have begun to see the falsity in that narrative.
So how do you interpret the president's reported private conversation during his tour with Mandinka communities, where he lamented the fact that Mandinkas in that particular area have tended to always vote opposition? Some people have interpreted the remark as tribalist. Others have said it's just a conversation, a family conversation, a conversation within members of a family, where the way we talk in the family is different from the way we speak publicly.
Well, see, I think the people who really want to give us that slant, not ready to really defend the indefensible. It is most unacceptable for the president in any conversation to really make statements that tend to denigrate another ethnic group in the country. It should never have happened. It just shows his thinking. For him, if you do not vote for him, you are Mandinka. In 2016, he had all his votes from that area. And that was because he was UDP. Or at least people said, look, here's an independent candidate, but then, with a UDP spirit. So they always considered him as UDP. So they voted him because he was UDP. In Jammeh's time, those areas voted because they are always UDP. Now, if you belong to UDP and you now abandon UDP, they decide to vote in the way UDP votes. It's not because they are Mandinkas. And I think it is a most unfortunate statement coming from the head of state. And the thing is that, having that closed-door meeting with the president with these local people, people who really, even the presence of a regional administrator overawes them. The president was, using the grandeur of his office to really intimidate those people. That is what he was doing. Intimidate them, accusing them of being tribalistic. Using the grandeur of his office. It was most unfortunate statement. I have always said that the president should be inspiring. Even when he cracks jokes, he should be inspiring. You shouldn't allow your aides to be coming and to try to explain, well, this is what he meant, this is what he meant. He really said what he meant. Start to clear that you people are Mandinkas, you don't want to vote for me. You don't want to. But in 2016, he never said that about them. And I have never, and I will never say that those people who voted for me in areas that are predominantly other ethnic groups, I wouldn't say that they voted for me because they are not Mandinkas. I say because they probably do not appreciate and understand the programs I'm presenting to them. So I have a lot to do to convince them to accept my programs.
Did you meet these people as part of your tour?
These people?
Where he made these, how did you counter the narrative?
Oh yes. In LRR, yes. No, in LRR, no, I really try as much as to avoid, because we do not want this kind of discourse to dominate.
You don't want to stoke emotions.
We don't want this kind of
discourse,
this kind of discourse to dominate our political activities. It's not right, because you will not be setting a good precedent. Yeah, you'll not be setting a good precedent. I mean,
you must have said something, to assure them, to reassure them.
No, I have said, look, you vote for UDP, because UDP is not a party that is based on tribe. UDP is for every tribe, irrespective of your region. Yeah, certainly. And I said that they must ignore those type of things. And I said that, look, you must not go to the government, to the Mandinka community, and try to make statements that appear to be really disrespectful, and that he should be respectful not only to Mandinka but to every community. Not only to the Mandinka but to every community, particularly elders. I said the Mandinka community, the Mandinka elders and elders of other ethnic groups. You must be respectful to them.
You said moments ago that President Barrow abandoned the UDP. Was he not kicked out of the UDP?
He wasn't kicked out. He abandoned UDP.
Why did he abandon UDP? I mean, this is, after all, the party that made him.
Absolutely.
It was on the strength of this party that he became president.
Absolutely.
So why would he want to walk out?
Absolutely. And I think the honest answer should be from him. We can only conjecture from events. Mm-hmm. He did say in Sukta that Fabaka Tombonjata and Sidinjai, in his
the speaker and deputy speaker,
that they would support him, but only if he parts company with Usainu Dabo. And he said when he was told that, he was shocked, and really they put him in a state of confusion. How could he do that? But in the end, he did it. So it was not free. And he was also told that, look, if you do not assume leadership of the UDP, then that is a coup d'etat. I mean, some of his aides who spent some time in America, they do not understand American politics, but then they want to bring the status of American politics here. Said that, when you are president, you are leader of your party, that nobody should contest against you. Forgetting that Jimmy Carter, if they knew, Jimmy Carter, so really, I think the Democrats, within the Democratic Party, there were other contenders against Jimmy Carter, in fact, two other presidents, that the leadership of the party in the United States does not necessarily mean that you cannot have any contestants against you. But that's what they told him. And then he said that, look, anybody want to run against him, that is a coup d'etat.
Oh.
Now he did say, this is on record, that is a coup d'etat. But he was misled.
So he wanted to be handed the leadership of the UDP on a silver platter.
And he could have got it.
He could have?
He could have got it.
How?
If he did things in the right way. He could have got it.
What would have been the right way to go about this?
The right way to go about it, would have been really to stoop down and say, I belong to this party. Because I have always been saying that we need to give space to younger people in the party. If he had approached us and not tried to use his office, then he would have got it. And let me tell you, when I was appointed vice president, the first cabinet meeting, I was shocked. I won't name the particular minister. The minister said, well, Mr. Dabo, now that you have been appointed Attorney General, Vice President, I think now you should make a public declaration that you are endorsing President Barrow for next presidential elections. And I was sitting right across with Lamidiba facing me. He just stared at me. And Amadou Sani looked over the shoulders of Ahmad Ba, gazing at me.
Was it Ahmad Ba that made that statement?
No, I wouldn't mention the minister. No, but I'll tell you. Ahmad Ba made the same, but I'll tell you. Yeah? Then a colleague who was sitting by me just got up and pressing me on my tie. Please don't say anything. Please don't say anything.
They feared you might have exploded.
No, of course. But what I would have said, Ahmad Ba said it.
What did he say?
He said, look, this is not the place to discuss these type of issues. You discuss government matters here, not party matters. And I think that's right. So even for me, even if my appointment as vice president was not really out of genuine intentions, it was a way of trying to placate me to see, that you could say, like, look, be there. And really, you cannot really give me positions because you want leadership of the United Democratic Party. And in any case, leadership of the United Democratic Party is not is not a position that I own. The leader of the United Democratic Party is always elected at the Congress. And the presidential candidate is also elected by the people. Of course, my support for him would have been very crucial, and I would definitely have supported him. And we got people. I didn't talk to him personally. I got people to say, look, you're after a 5-year term. Maybe you should go to university. Read economics. Read some of the developments that will really, get you on very good grounding, so that even your advisors, if they come and advise on certain matters, you'll be able to really challenge them by putting questions to them. So that you are not only approving. And then the university course will take you 3-4 years. Then the next elections, which would have been in 2026, you would come in, just as Navedi and Putin did. Well, to say honest, I've got 30% of the electorate behind me, so the 70% will just fight for the 70%.
And it has worked out for him.
Well, yeah, it has worked out for him, and it has worked out for him very good, and I appreciate that. But it has also worked out for me that I maintain my stand, my principle, that you do not induce me to taking decisions that I do not think are in the best interest of my party. Yes, but people have to stand or fall by principles. If you do not have principles, you will be carried away. And I cannot compromise.